Hey guys, it's John from Snap-on John 100, and I just wanted to talk to you guys, the newer bushcrafters, about some tips for fire starting. So without further ado, I just wanted to go over some things. I got some wood here. First of all, when you want to start a fire to boil water or for light, you want something that is burns fast and hot, and that would be soft woods like pine, basswood, things like that. If you're looking for fire that is a sustained output of BTUs for a long length of time, like cooking or staying warm, you want to use hardwood like oak or maple or just different hardwoods like that. So one of the things that people seem to be doing all the time just when they want to make a fire is they get a big piece of wood and then they get their knife out and start batoning it, splitting it, and getting it split up like that. And then all this, I want to caveat here, this is all my just my opinion, and I'm kind of a newbie myself, but I've been out in the woods a lot and I've started lots of fires. And so one of the things that I do when I need to baton wood is, the first thing I do is I make sure I have a knife that can stand it. You check a lot of online, and you read about or hear about people that have broken knife blades, and most of the time they've done it while batoning through hardwood. So my advice to new people is only baton through softwood like basswood, pine, willow, things like that, because you're looking for a fast fire anyway when you're doing that. And if you need to get a sustained output, what you want to do is you want to start the fire with softwood, get it going, and then start putting hardwood on it. And the hardwood you don't need to have split because you're looking for a long burn time already. So the times that I do baton is when, I'm going to carve a spoon or carve something like a fire set, and I have to have something split critically. That's when I'll baton something, but once again, that's softwood. If you're trying to start a fire in wet weather and all the wood is all soaking wet, you need to get to the inner dry wood. That's the time when you want to split the wood open, and if you don't have a hatchet or an axe, you use your knife. Once again, start your fire with softwood. So you split the softwood, get that going, and then you can take the hardwood, put that around the fire. Once the outside's dry, you can toss it into your fire. So my advice would just be try not to baton hardwood ever. I know there's lots of people that might disagree with me, but I believe in conservation of your resources, and the last thing you want to have happen is a broken knife. And especially if you're in a climate where it gets down to 0 or below, you want to make sure you keep your knife up under your clothes, under your coat, so that the blade doesn't get too cold, because that's another time where it could actually shatter. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to baton for people that have never done that. And let me adjust the camera. Alright, what you always want to have the wood on another piece of wood, so that the knife doesn't go through, and like you don't want to put it on the dirt, because you don't want your knife blade going into the dirt, and you also don't want to put it on anything hard like a rock or any other hard surface that if it happens to go through quickly, you're going to end up hitting the edge on something hard. So how we do this is you take a piece of wood, and you make sure that you keep your knife blade horizontal, and you tap on the back of the blade to drive it through, and you want to make sure you keep the handle down flat so that the knife blade is going through flat. You don't want to have the tip down or the handle up or down. So make sure it stays flat. And then you just tap. Once you hit the spine or you can't go anymore, then you come out on the end of the knife blade and you tap right there. This one's going to split out because there's a knot there. If I can go, that's not going to work. So then you want to turn it 90 degrees, hit the very top again. And see, this one's got a lot of knots in it. You also want to try to find a piece of wood that doesn't have very many knots. I just grabbed this because it was something I could find easily, because I'm getting rushed for time. It's getting kind of dark. Okay. That's basically how you go through a piece of wood. You want to make sure the knife blade stays level. You don't want it getting like this or like this. You also don't want to hammer on the handle. So the other trick is try not to use too big of pieces of wood. Now I'm going to also show you how to make a feather stick. Once again, for a feather stick, before I do that, this knife is full tang construction and it's 7/32 of an inch. It's almost 1/4 of an inch. So I don't have to worry about this knife blade breaking, especially if I'm only using on soft wood. Okay, so that's my little tip. Only baton through softwood. Almost every fire I've ever started, I have never even had to use, I've never had to baton through any wood at all, hardly ever. The only time I do that is if it's all soaking wet, and even conditions like that, what I will generally do is I will look for pine trees and I will go to the dead branches close to the ground, and I'll just break off the little tiny pieces that on the very whisper, like toothpick sized pieces. I break those off and I start my fire with little tiny pieces like that. Once you do that, then you can gradually get bigger and bigger and bigger, and when you do that you don't even need to split any wood because you're starting with such fine stuff that you can start your fire with that and just gradually build it up, and you don't even have to worry about trying to get split wood to burn. So with that said, I'm going to show you how to make a feather stick. Once again, if you're trying to get a wood to burn, especially if you don't have anything other than the little slivers of wood, and you got to use a ferro rod or some other type of thing like that, you want to get the most combustible wood possible. Once again, that's soft wood. So I'm going to use, that's why I picked basswood. So I'm going to show you how to make a feather stick now, and that's what we're going to be using. I'm not going to make a fire because it's getting too late, and this is an area where you can really have a fire, but I'm going to show you how to make a feather stick with this. Once again, what I do is I use a thin bladed slicing knife for when I'm making feather sticks, because it just makes it a lot easier, so because of the blade geometry. So this one is a Mora, and I think this one is 3 mils, something like that. It's a little bit, it's one of the more thick ones, but I think it's only 3 mils. So let me get down over here and I'll sit on this log. Okay. Now, to make a feather stick, and you're going to get into a groove, you want to start at the edges. So that's why when I'm making a feather stick, those are the times when I do have to, I'm working with wetter wood, so that's where I've split the wood open, so I'm starting with this angle. So you want to put the stick on the ground and use your entire body and attack the wood with a really shallow angle. I'm going to have to bring the camera closer. Here's what I've got so far, but I'm going to have to zoom in closer so you can see really what I'm doing. Hopefully that'll be a little better. And what you want to do is just keep making edges. And I'm just going to make a little pile of shavings, but you want to try to have a really shallow angle, and you just have to fiddle with it until you get the right angle, and they'll be paper thin once you get that good angle. That's the other reason why you want to use a very thin, sharp knife. And if you notice too, I'm using my upper body. I'm not using my arm really. I'm just raising up and down with my upper body, so I'm not expending too much energy doing this. When I'm done, I think I'm going to try to see if I can get it to go, but I'll have to put it right out. That's really what you're looking for. And with a soft wood, it's easier to get that to ignite. The combustion temperature for this particular type of wood is a lot lower than for hardwood. This is basswood. So I showed you in a previous video on how to find basswood. Pine is another good one. So what we're going to do now is I'll see if I can get a spark to ignite this. Try to zoom in a little better. Really. Oh, there you go. It just barely caught, but this is not real dry. But you get the idea. The softer the wood, the easier it is to light this way. And if I was in a situation where I had to get it lit, I would have had a little more patience there, but I also would have made a lot more. But that is the technique for making a feather stick, and you just want to practice that. Some of these could be thinner. You want to practice getting them as thin as possible, and that you get that by having a shallow angle into the wood and using a really sharp. One of the things I did want to mention about batoning, because it's controversial, some people think it's horrible, some people love to do it. It's kind of fun. I am middle of the road. I think there's a place for it, and it's if you're careful, you shouldn't hurt your knife. But that's also why I said I would only baton on soft wood, and I try to not do it if it was freezing cold out or my blade was cold. And like I said before, the only times I've really needed to do that is if I was making a fire set or carving something where I had to make a perfect split in the wood, where splitting with an axe or something is too rough, or if the wood was completely saturated and I had to get inside the wood for the dry stuff. Those are the only times really I use my knife for splitting wood. I hope that helps. If I can think of some other tips for fires, I'll add them to this video, because I was such a rush because it's getting dark, and I got here and I kind of forgot half the stuff I was going to talk about. But basswood, excellent for carving, excellent for making fires with a bow drill, or you can use it for a hand drill for the hearth board, and it burns really well when it's dry. But once again, try to be prepared so you're not caught where you've got to try to make a fire by getting that to catch a spark. Hope you enjoyed this, and I'll catch you on the next one. God bless. To recap, you want to use soft wood to start your fires, and if you're looking for boiling water or light or quick warmth, soft wood. The best wood to start your fire with is pine, or anything that has resin in it, so any of the evergreens. Soft wood burns hot and fast, and if you need a sustained output of BTUs for warmth or to cook, then you want to use hardwood like oak or maple, just different woods like that that are hard. So one of the tips for starting your fires when it's damp out, or just any time, look for pine and the lower dead branches that snap right off. Start with the very tip ends that are the size of matchsticks, and then or toothpicks, I mean, and then you graduate up to matchstick size and then pencil size. That wood will burn very hot and very fast, and if you need to get your water started or boiling, that's the kind of wood you want to use. If you're going to split wood with your knife using a technique of batoning, just remember to do it with caution. Baton softer woods. Try to stay away from oak, maple, the hardwoods, also knotty wood, like the wood I used today had too many knots in it, but I just grabbed it just for quick demonstration purposes. But typically you want to try to find knot-free wood that's soft. Do it when it's, try to stay away from doing it when it's super like sub-zero weather out, and that's zero down to close to 0 Fahrenheit, not Celsius. And use a full tang knife that's 3/8 of an inch. I would recommend, and I'm sorry, 3/16 to 1/4 inch thick full tang knife for batoning. And for making feather sticks, I use a lot thinner knife with either Scandi edge or a convex edge. And the whole reason about this batoning thing, and the only reason why I even mentioned it, is because I've had people commenting and asking me if about certain knives that I had, if I had chipping and stuff, because they'd noticed chipping on their blades after batoning, and they wondered if I had. And the answer for that is no, because I don't do it that often. But there's been some phenomenal videos on making a fire out of one stick, and there's been a lot of challenges, and I think the Bushcraft USA did a bunch of stuff with that. And what that was for is to teach you how to process wood. It wasn't really to teach you that every time you start a fire, you run over to find a big log somewhere and then start splitting it with your knife. That was just to teach you how to process wood, and that was very instructive. But that's why I wanted to do this or talk about batoning, because some new person, if they saw a lot of that, might think that that's how you always started a fire. And I virtually never have to start a fire that way. But like I said before, if the wood's sopping wet and you got to get into the dry stuff, that's when you want to use that technique. But you start with soft wood, get the fire going, and then you throw on hardwood if you so choose, if you're going to cook with it or use it for warmth. I hope that helps. I'll be doing some more videos on tips for new people in the near future, and if I can think of anything else, I'll try to add it to this. But I just wanted to have this recap, because I was so rushed back there that it's more relaxed, so I can think a little straighter. But have a wonderful evening, and I'll catch you on the next one. God bless. Hey, I thought of something else. When you're looking for wood, you want to look for standing dead timber. Don't ever pick up wood that's been laying on the ground, because it'll have been soaking water up like a sponge. So standing dead timber, some of the best places is if a branch broke off and then landed and got hung up in a tree or in a bush or something. That's primo if you can find one of those. Like I said before, pine, the dead branches on a pine tree that just snap right off, those are dry as a bone. Those can be, those go up almost like you put gas on them once you get that going. So those are just a couple of extra places to find the type of wood you're looking for when you're looking to make a fire. And I hope that helps. If I think of something else, I'll get back to you.